conclusively debunked that women don't need men. They are so dependent on men. It's not even a joke.
My favorite book that you wrote is The Curse of the High IQ. This is where I started reading the stuff about men being inside of one standard deviation, women being outside of one standard deviation.
Yeah, the flatter curve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was just curious, like, I actually attribute it to more than high IQ, because being in the military and being around extremely accountable people who are always on time, and then comparing that to working in a strip club or living in Las Vegas later, it was more, it wasn't just IQ. It was ability to delay gratification, a level of discipline, and a level of curiosity. Those people, dealing with those people and realizing most people aren't like that, that seemed to be something difficult that I had to transition when I got
Right. No, I mean, intelligence is not going to be the only thing you will be alienated from the rest of society. Like punctuality for me.
Yes.
Oh, God, don't start with me about people being late. Just, you don't want me to be president because there won't be any people who are late because there won't be any people.
Yeah.
So, yes, but the main thesis of that book is you're an aberration. Not bad, not good. It's just you're a statistical aberration, and that all systems have to hover around the mean. Society has to be geared around the mean. Infrastructure, computers, all that has to be geared around the mean. And with things for society to function being geared around the mean, your average person, that means people who are over here and people who are over here are going to have a harder time interacting, navigating, succeeding, or just achieving contentment. And so just as the problem is when you see someone who's mentally ill, or not mentally ill, mentally impaired, alcohol fetal syndrome, Down syndrome, or just, there's something not right with that guy.
We're talking in general below an 85 IQ, so outside of 170, below 70 maybe.
Well, it depends. I mean, you could have people who can't wipe their own ass.
Yeah.
I mean, and then there's Down syndrome where they can actually do a kind of a low skill job.
Sure.
So I'm just saying, you could say, oh, that person is mentally disabled. We should make accommodations for that person.
For sure.
No one gives a shit about the smart
Got
people.
it. Okay, now I see what you're saying. Yes.
You're
smart people are a privileged class. Dumb people are a protected class.
Right. And I've never wanted to punch people in the face. There's a couple sayings. Must be nice. We can't all be like you. And the one that tops them all, you'll land on your feet. Why? Because I did really well on my SATs. I still need to eat. I still came from a poor family. It's just like, we don't have to worry about these people. And so there's certainly that, I guess you could consider it social handicap. But then there's also just the intellectual problems that people who are above average intelligence face. Finding someone to date. Men with high IQs, because of that flatter distribution, there are both more dumb men than women and more smart men than women.
Yes.
And that's why you have more homeless that are men, but you have more physics PhDs that are men. If you are a 130, 145, 2 to 3 standard deviation, like a physicist would be, or a surgeon, good luck finding a girl. It depends on how far down the bell curve you want to go, but for every one of these very intelligent women that you might be able to get along with on an intellectual level, there's like 3 to 5 guys that are pining for her. The one okay-looking girl in the engineering class who's from Asia, there's 10 guys chasing after her, offering to help her with her homework. And so there's these inefficiencies that intelligent people face, among other things as well. That's kind of what the book is about. And I think the main thing about the book was to identify it, because you're shamed, which is okay. You should not brag. You should be humble, or you should at least be quiet. You don't want I'm really intelligent, I'm really strong. But that doesn't change the fact that you are really intelligent. And so what smart people are thought, you're like, well, you shouldn't brag about being intelligent. It's like, no, it's not that you should be proud of it, but you should recognize it and realize that there are disadvantages to being highly intelligent in a population of an IQ of 100.
Yeah, what was the Elon Musk put out that tweet? It was like, you have a greater chance of being a virgin with an IQ over 115 than you do with an IQ below 85 or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, probably because there's more people within that range. But yeah, so there's a lot of things. And then me personally, I mean, it was like, I treated it with alcohol, and it was a great treatment. I like just lowered that IQ down, and I relaxed. And now that I'm sober, I'm like, man, you suffer the stupidity of 4K and Bose surround sound. Like, just people just they walk out of the Walmart or whatever, and then they just stop right in the middle of the door where you can't just like that. Yeah, so that kind of stuff. And I just want to say you're not alone. There's other of us out here, but there's not much you can do about it, but to identify the problem.
It's pretty great. And then the other book, Enjoy the Decline. The decline is it the decline that you're talking about now, where it comes to the economic engine that men are were being fueled by it being going away? What decline are you referring to?
Just the general social and economic decline of the U.S. That was written when Obama got reelected. So 2012, if I remember my history right. Yeah, I guess it is a 10-year-old book. Because it became apparent to me that America was not going to be one of independence, strength, American exceptionalism, and a life of it. It was, no, we're going to be mediocre. We're going to be more of a egalitarian, communal type of society. And it was like, okay, well, these things are going to decay. We're all going to decay as quality and caliber of human beings. Our economic production and growth is going to decay. And it's just going to be a less enjoyable society. We're going to have less excellence. And everything's pretty much been proven true in the past 10 years. Our movies have gone to pot. Our culture have gone to pot. We've gotten fatter. We've done the opposite of Daft Punk. Harder, better, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
We've been softer, slower, dumber, fatter, or whatever the heck the opposite would be. So that's what that was, where if you are a person who was American in philosophy, you wanted to do the best and win the games and take the championship home and grab the girl, the rest of society is not going to be playing by those rules going forward. And so that was just how to cope with that kind of, and ultimately I would say economic collapse of the U.S. economy.
You had two books, A World Without Men and The Menu, which is Life Without the Opposite Sex. Are those
Yes.
both? Yeah. And both of these books were having to do with obviously not having the opposite sex around. Was there any like realizations that you came to from that? The World Without Men was what world?
The World Without Men, so the U.S. Department of Labor, there was not a sexy reason for this book.
Yeah.
The World Without Men was, I saw some data series from the Department of Labor that broke down men and women and what they did in our economy to quite a granular level. And I think they had taken it down, then they put it back up. I'm like, oh, they don't want people to know. So I downloaded the data set and I got it. I say, before the Department of Labor takes this down, I want to show what men and women are doing in this economy.
Yeah.
And so I just backed out all the men from the data. And I said, okay, here's what your economy would look like with women. And the thing that I saw that shocked me or was that I discovered along the journey of writing it, it's worse than what I thought. I thought, okay, there's some women who are going to plumb. There's some women out there. There's some, but it's a fraction of what I thought it was. And I didn't realize like just how screwed women would be without men. And I'm not like a plumber. I'm not important. I'm a podcasting idiot. All right. I am not vital to this economy or society, but I conclusively debunked that women don't need men. They are so dependent on men. It's not even a joke. And then you look at other things like what percent of worthless jobs, like make work government jobs or nonprofits, stuff that has no real economic value. Women, I think they outnumber men 2 to 1 in those fields because men still work in these fields. But I think those were kind of the thing I learned along the way. The menu, there I had to do more of a deep dive into finding purpose and reason in life beyond what I found purpose and reason in life. So I'm, hiking, sex, adventure, exercise, that kind of thing. Whereas other people, there's other things like particularly how if you're not religious, there is philosophy. I found philosophy, especially Stoicism, very soothing.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, religion's great. I mean, if you could get religion, do it. Because it's great. You got rules. Here's your purpose and meaning. You're going to live forever. And you have a community usually associated with it. And it's very soothing to think there's another being out there that cares about you or actually took the time to create you. So if you can find it, do it. But for the secularists, for the atheists out there, the agnostics, well, what if you don't believe in the guy in the sky? Well, the Stoics, or not the Stoics, the philosophers of times past had these same questions, and there's a tremendous amount of wisdom and experience that you could find in different philosophies. And it really helps, even since writing that book, I've implemented several things that made my life much more enjoyable, not as angry, and a little bit more hopeful. And so that was kind of Epicureanism, which it's basically responsible hedonism. Like do the drugs, but don't do it until you die. That kind of thing. Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of, but it's a little more scripted and fleshed out than that. But those are kind of the things I found in those books.
When it comes to the dating market, I do see a decline coming. I see it as inevitable. I don't think porn is going to get worse or less pervasive. In fact, Rick Kurzweil talks about like men having sex with robots in the future and not needing women at all. I do see a decline coming, but in the interim, myself and at least probably my children's generation, I think would have an easier time getting in that top 10 or 20% of men than at any point in history.
Yes.
Meaning like it requires exceptionalism to get in the top 10%, but probably the least amount of exceptionalism that you've ever had. I'm just in shape and I don't listen to Disney. I read more than 5 books a year. You understand what I'm saying? I'm below 14% body fat. I make over $100,000 a year, and I have masculine boundaries when it comes to my dating life. I think you're already in the top 10%. I see it both ways. From a socioeconomic standpoint, I do see a decline when it comes to dating. 6 in 1,000 women want to get married. A decline in the birth rate, 56% divorce rate, et cetera. Those things increasing. The bottom quartile of men having no sexual options. I believe that's going to grow to a third and then maybe a half. I think that's where we're headed in that direction. But at the same time, I do think that if you're just one of those people who's willing to unplug from, the Matrix, and I don't mean the Matrix in the way that like everybody in the red pill is saying, but like unplug from this traditional way of thinking or the way of thinking that's being taught to you by major media outlets and big tech, et cetera. I just think if you just don't listen to them, you can put yourself in the top 20%.